All right. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Tables, Ladders, and Chairs podcast. I'm your host, Eric, joined as always by my co host, Mike and Sean. How are you guys tonight?
Good.
Doing well.
Yeah, good. It's been a minute since we had a broadcast.
Yes.
Certainly I had to move, new studio here, and lots went on. We had Thanksgiving. The night before Thanksgiving, I went out with my cousin celebrating his birthday. Managed to survive. So thank you for all the thoughts and prayers out there for me.
What, you managed to survive, so it was tough to survive?
It was. It
It, it,
was. And
it is. The night before Thanksgiving's not a fun night.
no,
No.
no, that is serious business.
No, too many people are out at like restaurants and all. It's bad.
And it was way too peoply, and I've come to notice in my old age I've become very anti people.
It happens.
Yeah, I have a feeling I'm one of those miserable old men who just sits at home by himself all the time, and I'll be
And I
happy.
think also working retail
Well,
makes
yeah.
you
Yes,
less of a people person because you have to put up with extravagant requests.
I know.
Do I put up with them? Whew.
I know this is not about the topic, but you guys never saw each other in real life, you said?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into everything that we missed. How about let's talk about Survivor Series.
Unbelievable, I thought.
Right?
I thought the way they ended Survivor Series was fantastic with how Sami Zayn pledged his loyalty to the bloodline.
Yeah, I felt like with the way they built that up, I thought there was a chance going in that Sammy could turn on the bloodline, but with the way they were building the night, it made it very clear to me that this was going to be Sami Zayn's one shining moment as a member of the bloodline.
Yeah, and it really was.
Yes.
And I think that now they've kind of planted the seeds if they want to turn Sammy against the bloodline. It could be Sammy and KO against the Usos.
They could certainly do that. I tell you, part of me thinks that like when the whole thing dissolves with the bloodline, because eventually, like every faction is formed to one day turn on each other and
Yeah.
implode. Well, I think when that happens for the bloodline, like I almost feel like it would be good if Sami Zayn was like the last one remaining with it with Roman or something,
That would be pretty good.
and then like, dude, maybe you could have Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn as the tag team champions.
That would actually work pretty nicely too.
We're getting ahead of ourselves, but definitely it seems like we should be on a collision course if there were a December pay per view for Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens. Wouldn't you think?
Yeah, but like I read an article that they were going to have that at the Rumble,
Don't you always read articles?
but supposedly Roman was upset with how hard Kevin was hitting at War Games. So now they might go Roman against Sheamus in a safer match at the Rumble.
Wait. So
I could see that.
Yeah.
I could certainly see like we've had like we've had the Roman and KO matches, and look, they were all great,
Yep.
and I loved them, but we haven't had Roman and Sheamus,
Not yet.
so I'd be intrigued by that. Not since Roman's heel turn.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we had it when Roman was a face and
Right, and
Sheamus
heel.
was being used by the Authority as the pawn.
And I thought he said, man, every role Sheamus has ever had, he's knocked out of the park. I think he's one of the most underrated superstars in the history of the business.
Definitely up there, I think.
Like when it's all said and done, like when you're ranking, like it's one of my favorite lists are like one of my favorite things to do. And so like when you're ranking like the all timers, like when you go like say like I always go Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan 1 and 2.
Okay.
And I feel like if you go anywhere else, I don't know if we're really able to have a discussion because those are the two top guys in the history of the business. Drawn the most money, sold out the most arenas, I mean, maybe not sold the most merch because Ric Flair didn't sell that much merch, but Hulk Hogan certainly did.
So, so who is first and then who is second? Hulk Hogan or Ric Flair?
Just because I'm a wrestling purist, I'll say Ric Flair. But I certainly get the argument for Hulk Hogan being number one.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like a lot of people go back and forth with those two.
I think John Cena should at least be in the top 5.
Well, it's interesting because if you have John Cena in the top, like, because I have the rest of my top 5 being The Undertaker 3, Shawn Michaels 4, and Stone Cold Steve Austin as 5.
Well, I say mine are like
Then I have Cena at 6.
Well, like the ones that used to and showed up all the time is like Roman Reigns, John Cena, The Rock, Hulk Hogan, and maybe Ric Flair.
Yeah.
But this certainly is something that we could elaborate more on as we get into what is now look like it's going to be the extended dead period in WWE.
Oh,
I always look at that time between TLC and the Royal Rumble. There's usually about 5 or 6 weeks of between the two pay-per-views, and it's typically like 2 to 3 weeks of just not really much happening.
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't like The Rock that much. Just saying.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, and I don't know why they're not putting in, like when we were sending messages earlier today.
Yeah.
I don't get why there's no premium live event right now, especially when there's talk about Rumble. Then they're doing Elimination Chamber.
Right, they're doing that in
And
Montreal.
There's that rumored Puerto Rico supercard that they're going to do.
I guess that could be an NXT card.
And then Mania.
Slow down 1 minute. Do you think Randy Orton's going to come back? Because he could be at some of those events.
I have no idea because I think his back's worse than what they first thought.
Yeah, he had to have, I think, spinal fusion surgery.
Yeah.
And that could, I mean, to me, that means at least a year.
Yep.
Wait. So let me get this straight. Randy Orton is way worse than Edge's.
No, I don't know.
No, I think it's way worse than what they originally projected when they looked at it. Like the original X-rays, they probably didn't. They thought it could heal without surgery, and it just hasn't progressed the way they wanted it to.
Yeah.
And so they had to go in and do the surgery. So it's we're probably looking at next year's Royal Rumble at like the earliest for a Randy Orton return, if ever.
If ever, yeah. Because he might be done too, the way that they were saying it, which would be horrible.
And that would really suck. I really hope that they do something with Randy, like post wrestling.
Yeah.
Like, I hope they give him some kind of avenue, whether it be, one of those, like, I'd hate to see him be like one of those mid Carters who just like then becomes an agent, like Tyson Kidd, but
or maybe like a general manager position.
Okay, so Randy Orton is a lot worse than Edge's.
No, they don't.
No, we're just saying it's a lot worse than what the doctors originally said Randy's was going to be.
Right.
But so far is it?
Yeah.
I'm just getting confused myself.
Okay.
It's okay. No, Edge's injury, like they knew when they looked at it after he had the spinal fusion. Like he said that when he knew when he got the spinal fusion that he was wrestling on borrowed time.
Yep.
That's Edge's words.
Yeah.
And time had run out. At least it appeared that way. He needed to have another surgery. He got it, rehabbed that surgery, and before he knew it, it was like, wait a minute, I might actually be able to make another run at a comeback. Like I think he had just discounted the whole idea. Like he hadn't really entertained it had he gone into the second surgery with the idea that he might be able to come back, he may have come back sooner.
Yeah. But I think he played it safe. He did it the
And
smart
that's
way.
smart. Yeah.
Yeah. And really now, I mean, he's a part timer, which he should be
Sure.
with that injury, and he adds value to the show when he's on.
Yeah, and I think, and I was one of those, I was always very critical of Brock Lesnar as the part time, but mainly because it was Brock Lesnar as the part time champion, which I'm also critical of Roman now being that way. But to me, I feel like Roman's earned that cachet of like he showed up every day for all those years. And like now Roman just like going part time. To me, that strikes me more as like John Cena going part time, not like The Rock going part time, or basically not at all. And then yeah, or and Brock Lesnar.
And Roman's part time, though
Mhm.
he's still on weekly. It seems like or
Yeah,
every
he
other.
just doesn't wrestle very
He doesn't
often.
wrestle, but he's always doing the promos.
Yeah. And to me, it's not a big deal. Like, if he's not there every week doing a promo, that's okay. You don't have to have a weekly promo segment from Roman Reigns.
No.
Because how many times do you need him out there saying, acknowledge me, I'm feeling oozy, and
Yeah.
Wait, he's in feeling Lucy before?
Yes. And they have all these terms.
yeah. I am definitely feeling oozy tonight.
I just want to point out I like Roman Reigns way better than I used to. I like Roman Reigns a lot better than him.
Yes.
I agree with you. And I'd love to elaborate on why. Like, for me, this feels like it's really him. Like, and the wrestlers, their best characters when they're playing themselves with the volume turned up.
Yep.
And I think this is who Roman Reigns is. He looks at himself as like this top-notch super athlete. Not and I don't mean that in like an arrogant kind of way, but I think he prepares himself in that kind of way. And so that's again, that's like, turning the volume way up is the whole being the arrogant, punk about it.
Yeah.
Okay, who is your favorite wrestler?
My favorite wrestler all
Yeah.
time, Mick Foley.
Yeah, Mick Foley's at least at my top 5. I can't decide who's my top 3. It used to be Cody Rhodes, but I don't think. It might be Roman Reigns. Mankind is really, I really like him, though. He's a really good wrestler.
Yeah, who would be yours, Sean? Well, I know you said that you are going back and forth there, but gun to your head, you have to choose one.
Okay, my third.
Your number one of
Your
all time,
number one superstar.
John Cena.
Okay. Mike, who would be yours?
The one I'm stuck on is my third because I don't even know which one.
Favorite of all time. That's tough.
He's gonna say Ric Flair and Roddy Piper. I don't know which one though.
Whew. I think Piper.
Yeah. You're such a character.
He was such a character. To me, it's a coin flip between Piper and Dusty.
Why are you putting your hand on the table? No one can see your hand on the table.
I know, Sean. Yeah, those two are two of my favorites.
Yeah. Two good ones. Yeah. Well, Piper was so important, like with everything, like with the rock and wrestling.
Yeah.
And he had to be willing to play that bad guy and get that kind of heat.
And he did a great job. And then just to his credit, 2 years later, they flip him face and he becomes the most popular wrestler.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's what he can do. Like, that's to me the sign of the great superstar, which is why, I mean, look, I understand Ricky Steamboat used to say, man, he always wanted to get a chance to work as a heel. And every promoter's like, well, look at how great you are. You managed to achieve all this having never turned heel.
Yeah. That's one guy I can never see. He said he wanted to be a heel, but how can you see Ricky Steamboat as anything but a face?
Yeah, he's just a natural white meat babyface.
Yeah, and I
And
mean,
just like John Cena, too. But
yeah, yeah. Like people always say, Cena should have turned. I, you can't turn a guy who did 500 Make a Wishes.
yeah, I mean, well, you can't exploit that then if he does that.
Exactly. I
I
mean,
mean,
he's such a white meat baby face that you can't. When they turned Hogan in WCW, it was a great shock.
sure.
But I think Cena would have needed like an NWO faction to turn heel.
And I'll tell you, the time that I really thought it might happen was going to be Cena and The Rock, the second match in at MetLife, the one I know you were at.
Yep.
I thought that was going to be the night, and I thought like during the match, like they're going back and forth, and you have like Wade Barrett and some of the old Nexus guys just happen to like sprinkle out around ringside, and all of a sudden, like there's a point in time, like maybe the referee gets knocked down, Cena gives Barrett a look, Barrett comes in, like hits The Rock with with the chair, what have you, whatever kind of shenanigans, and at the end, John Cena is now like because you know how he was a member of the Nexus, and
Yeah.
then like now he's a willing member of the Nexus,
Yeah,
and
that would
he's
have been
the new
good.
leader of the Nexus.
That's one stable. I still don't know how they let that fizzle so quick.
God, they completely shot that in the head. Like I mean, I couldn't believe it. Like they were so hot at the moment that like when they attacked John Cena and CM Punk and the whole Monday Night Raw crew,
Right.
including that shot of Justin Roberts getting strangled by the tie, which got Daniel Bryan fired, which was so
For
stupid.
the first
Well,
time.
one of my favorite match includes Team WWE versus the Nectars.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we were talking about. The next
Yeah, and that was a good match. Yeah.
was.
It was,
And the
like,
Nexus should have won.
They should have.
and it even had Bret Hart in it.
It did.
Mm-hmm.
And have you seen how old he is?
Yes.
Oh yeah, Brett is a man who has not aged well, and that's a result of, and
The
he'll
stroke.
tell you, Bill Goldberg, and
Yeah. Poor Brett.
somehow I think he blames the Kennedy assassination on Bill Goldberg.
Somehow, yes.
Yeah, it's such a shame that Brett's become so bitter in his old age.
I know. It's because he was such a great ambassador of pro wrestling
Mm-hmm.
for so many years. And then he's bitter. Even at conventions, like he's not what he used to be.
Yeah.
So, like the one icons of wrestling, I would guess this is 2017 or 18. I sold at a couple of those conventions, and the one that Bret Hart was in, I thought I was going to get a big crowd. They put him in the front room, and they put everyone else where the ring goes, and he was like off to himself. It was ridiculous.
That's really sad. Like it really makes me sad. Like I remember there was a time where I considered Bret Hart probably one of like he was if not number one, number two or three on my all time list.
Oh yeah, he was fantastic.
Yeah, during that new generation time. Yeah,
Yep.
he's the one that kept that afloat.
He really is. He really kept the company afloat, and during the trial and all, he was such an integral part. And then now he's just bitter.
I think the Montreal screw job and then Goldberg. I think those are the two things that completely turned him off from the whole thing. Like well, that and Owen too. When Owen died. Which, my God, we could spend a whole episode talking about Owen Hart and how awful that was.
Yeah.
And it still wouldn't do it justice.
No.
But let's. So we talked a little bit about the Sami Zayn moment. Like, I'm glad that when Kevin Owens came out the next night, because I was really afraid they were going to try to now build up to some Kevin Owens Sami Zayn match again, and I was
Yeah,
like, we really don't need this again. And
yeah.
when he was just like, I'm just done with you, good. Like, so maybe he's moving on to now. I
Mm,
figured when he beat Jey Uso that he was going to start to run the gauntlet of
yeah,
the bloodline,
yeah.
and I
And
suppose he still might, since we
he
have like
still might.
6 weeks to the Rumble and we haven't decided what the main event's going to be, other
And
than the
see,
Rumble match.
the problem is if he runs the bloodline gauntlet, what do they do when he faces Solo?
I mean, I think he has to beat Solo.
Because Solo has been so protected
Yeah,
since his call up. He's been that quiet enforcer of the bloodline. He's done such a fantastic job in that role. It's what are they going to do with him? If he,
well, I
yeah,
suppose what you could do is something where you have, say, he faces next would be Jimmy. So, like, whether it be Raw or SmackDown, you can have Kevin Owens versus Jimmy 1-on-1.
yep,
After that, you could have him and Sammy just have a one-off on a SmackDown or something like
yep.
that, and yeah, then you get to Solo.
And it's kind of like, what do you do?
I gotta have some kind of chicanery. I gotta have like maybe like maybe the other members try to get to get to Kevin Owens. The referee catches them, and you could have Solo just get caught with like a roll up or something like that, so he doesn't get pinned clean,
Yeah,
and that way he's
maybe
still protected. And
maybe they do it on a SmackDown. So
yeah,
this way they can build it, have the other members of the bloodline, and then have like the brawling brutes out there
yeah,
to make all the chicanery happen.
yeah, and then like and right after that match, you could have like Roman like you come out and like stare down Kevin Owens. That could be how you go off SmackDown
Yeah,
and lead into KO and Roman at the Royal Rumble.
yeah.
Well, I just gonna say about Survivor Series.
Hmm?
Well, I like how they changed it up this time. They put War Games and Survivor Series together. But if I had to choose, like Raw versus SmackDown, NXT versus WWE, all those things, I would say the best would have to be NXT versus WWE.
Mm-hmm.
You could have a team WWE versus team NXT. What in a War Games or in a? See, I thought what they should have done is you have your War Games matches, your men's and women's. I feel like there should have been another like Survivor Series style match,
You're right. The 5-on-5.
5-on-5 elimination match. Yeah,
Yeah, like I was saying, if I had to pick for the best 5-on-5 matches, it would have to be so like the 5-on-5 matches are really good, but like Raw versus SmackDown, NXT versus WWE, with the one like two different things come together. Like
hmm
I would have to choose WWE versus NXT because that's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, I liked the Survivor Series they had where it was Raw versus SmackDown versus NXT.
Right.
Wait, they did that?
They did that one year, and that was only to get NXT over
Right,
because it was going up against AEW.
Oh, then that
right.
was
Yeah.
then that has to be my favorite, even though I don't even know what happened.
Right.
Spoiler alert: NXT won.
Yeah.
Oh,
They won big,
Yeah,
and then they kind of.
they really didn't do much with it.
They really didn't. I thought they were going to build it up, continue to let the momentum go, because they
Right.
really could have shot down AEW at that point if they kept the momentum going.
do you think that?
Even if they did what they're doing now
Right.
with more main rosters, like the New Day were on NXT last night.
Right. And now they're going to Deadline.
Deadline,
And
yeah. If they did that stuff, they could have done a lot more.
Right.
Do you think that in the whole history of WWE, do you think there ever will be a WWE versus NXT versus AEW?
No. AEW.
No, and the reason why there won't be is just they're two different companies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Khans, like Tony Khan owns AEW now. Triple H and Stephanie run WWE.
Yeah.
So it would be deciding who goes over,
Yeah.
and neither one's going to want to put the other one over.
No. No. And that would not. I I always like when people try to do these like fantasy WWE versus WCW bookings and
Oh, sure, I
just
get no
wouldn't-
problem talking about those as long
it
as you
just
understand. Like
won't work.
while they're all separate, it's
Right.
never going to happen.
It's never going to happen. I mean, you could do AEW versus New Japan,
Is
which
an ice bucket? Yeah,
is what?
an ice bucket.
Yes.
Okay.
But you can't do it with two separate, especially in the same country.
Right. And basically, like that whole, I kind of felt bad for New Japan with that whole arrangement with the Forbidden Door.
That was awful. Yeah.
Yeah, because they just put over every AEW superstar.
Yeah. And now with MJF as champion,
Which let's get into that.
it'll be interesting to see what they're going to do now.
We had our text conversation going talking about the going into Revolution or Full Gear, excuse me.
Full Gear.
Yeah, Revolution's the new pay-per-view coming up.
Yeah.
But going into Full Gear, that it had to be that that MJF won the title, because if not now, when?
Yep.
And there had to be some kind of chicanery, and it was with William Regal.
Yep.
And I guess like this was just their way of booking him out of the company.
Yeah, it looks like he's, from what Dave Meltzer said, he's done with AEW.
Well, I mean, does that mean the Blackpool Combat Club is done? Should I go ahead and do I need to go get my shirt before they stop selling them?
I don't know what they're going to do.
Because those hoodies are pretty badass.
But those hoodies are nice. I mean, what are they going to do? Because Regal was the manager. Blackpool was where he's from.
Right. How do you have the Blackpool Combat Club
without the guy from Blackpool?
Without the guy from Blackpool, yeah.
I don't know what they're going to do. It's kind of a weird situation.
It is. It's very curious. And there seemed to be all these hints that they were going to crack up the Blackpool Combat Club, before, like with the Bryan Danielson, Wheeler Yuta stuff over him talking about how great Daniel Garcia was.
Yep.
And so I thought that was really going to build up. You could have that rivalry then with Danielson and Yuta, or then Yuta and Garcia.
Yeah.
And they really, it's like they haven't known which way to go, and so they haven't really committed to anything.
They're good at that.
And it just means nothing really happens.
Exactly. I mean, one thing I read, I was going to send it to you. It was like one of those little blobs on Facebook. I forget what company wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
They were saying, is it because of the Elite was so jealous of the Blackpool Combat Club? They took away their manager. They took all their titles away.
Yeah.
Was it politics that was causing people to want that whole faction dissolved? What are they going to do now? So,
well, right, because it doesn't even seem like they're going to feud with each other. That's just kind of seems like they're all going to go their separate ways.
Yeah, I really am kind of interested to see what they're going to do from now.
Because I would assume the plan is going to be that Claudio Castagnoli is going to lose to Jericho and have to join the JAS.
Yep.
Um, and so then, okay, there's another guy out of the Blackpool Combat Club. You could easily have Moxley and Danielson start to feud with, Moxley saying he didn't want to see Regal anymore, and
Yep.
Danielson still being so tight with Regal. Like it would be an easy little segue there to put them into a rivalry again.
Yeah. And then it's just what would they do with Wheeler Yuta?
Right, and then it's just Wheeler. Like it does seem like they're going to dissolve the Blackpool Combat Club.
Honestly, AEW could dissolve a couple factions, and it wouldn't be a bad idea at this point.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's almost like New Japan, where
Everybody's in a faction.
everyone's in a faction now. It's like there's no single standalone superstar.
Yeah, who would you say is the best single standalone, not in a faction, not in a tag team? I mean,
I'm gonna draw straws because he wasn't even here because he was in the G1 for a long time. Lance Archer.
yeah.
I mean, it would have to be either Archer or now that he's back, Adam Page.
Yeah, because, I mean, he was never actually part of the Dark Order, even though he considered them his buddies.
Right. He was always loosely affiliated with them, but he never
Right.
committed to the Dark Order. So,
Which, man, if not for the death of John Huber, like, man, I would have loved to have seen what direction they were going to go
yeah.
with Hangman and the Dark Order, because it looked like he was going to have to feud with all of them.
Yep.
And I thought that was going to be so much fun to watch that. I
Yeah.
love that when they come out there to try to recruit him, he's like, "Nah, guys, I don't think I'm joining a cult today."
Yeah. And then just so unfortunate what happened to John Huber, and it's just I feel like once John passed, they never had a good plan for the Dark Order.
No, and at least now with having 10 turn on them, like at least I feel like they're doing something.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I feel bad because there's a lot of talent in the Dark Order.
Yeah. Yeah, Johnny Hungy, like he is like he's really
Hilarious.
talented and charismatic and like man, I just think he's awesome.
Yeah, and then on the flip side, how many times do they push the best friends?
Yeah. I'm over the best friends, and I would never really look. I never bought in with the whole Orange Cassidy, like
Yeah,
faux punching and kicking.
yeah.
Like I
But
was never in on that. Like,
again, you're more of a wrestling purist,
yeah,
where the purists are kind of just like, this is silly, but it's gotten over with a lot of the other fans.
sure. And I can appreciate humor in wrestling.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, I've always thought R-Truth was funny. Like when he'd come out there in the middle of the Royal Rumble match and grab a ladder and try to climb up to grab Money in the Bank. I thought that was funny.
yeah,
Wait, you tried that?
yeah. Archer tried that one of the rumbles. It was great.
Yeah,
It,
it was hilarious. And I love that. Like, I'll even when I do something at work and I screw up or something, I'm like, oh wait, oh my bad,
yeah,
that's all me.
that's all me. Like our truth is a great comedian wrestler.
Oh
And there's
yeah,
nothing wrong with that. But
sure. And he should go into the Hall of Fame someday for that.
and he will. I
Hmm.
mean, he's one of those. I think he's tenured so long that he's going to be there for as long as he wants to be.
Yeah, yeah, and he'll never like. I mean, he's never going to main event a WrestleMania,
No,
and he's not supposed to, and he
no,
knows that.
he knows that. He knows his role.
And he's carved out a nice little life for himself. He's raising a family off the paychecks from WWE, and God bless.
Exactly.
The Rock's is not even all. That's part of his theme song.
Yes, it is part of the
I
Rock's
just
theme song.
that just came to my head.
Yes.
And I mean, like, and it's a shame for Truth that he's never going to follow in his childhood hero John Cena's footsteps and main
Exactly.
WrestleMania. But I mean, even though he's older than John, but anyway,
But that's the thing. WWE, I think, only has our truth when it comes to comedy.
right, right,
Where with AEW, it's Orange Cassidy, it's Danhausen.
right.
It to me, it seems like Rampage is almost like a comedy show half the time
Yeah,
because they put all the silliness on that show.
right. And they have that show on later when you could have more serious and edgy content.
Yeah,
The show doesn't come on until 10 o'clock. You could have something edgy in those time slots.
you could.
What do you think is better, Impact or what you talk about?
Well, I think AEW has a bigger fan base.
Not AEW.
Yeah, and they have a bigger production value. Like, they
Yeah.
have more money behind them.
Yep.
And so that's why AEW's product is Impact is more established amongst the mainstream wrestling fans. Like the purists, like myself,
Yep.
would like I will take a Josh Alexander match over Kenny Omega.
Oh yeah. So will I. I enjoy Josh Alexander's matches. They never disappoint.
Yeah.
Um, it'll be interesting to see what Impact's going to do now because it looks like they're losing Eric Young again. They
Right.
lost the Good Brothers. They're starting to lose talent again.
Yeah, it's a shame. And this is where they're going to have to go and find some more.
Yep.
Well, if
Yeah.
CM Punk quits, CM Punk either gets in trouble and quit, or doesn't want to work at AEW, he could join Impact.
I
He
don't know if
could, but I don't know that Impact has the wallet that it would take to entice CM Punk.
yeah.
Like they're not going to be able to offer this kind of contract that he could get from a. I actually would not be totally surprised if CM Punk reached out to try to mend fences with one Paul Levesque.
I wouldn't be surprised at this point.
And I think Vince McMahon, he wouldn't have even bothered to call.
Right.
But Paul Levesque, I think those two, because they have that camaraderie of they're both competitors. Like,
Yep.
Paul worked in the business and didn't just, inherit daddy's business. Like, so I think he'd be more inclined to talk with and try to mend fences with Triple H than he would have been with Vince McMahon.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think him and Vince are so far gone, but with Vince out of the picture, there's a very strong possibility, I think.
It kind of reminds me of the way Vince McMahon treated the Ultimate Warrior, in which, yeah, he didn't like the Ultimate Warrior. And I mean, when he came back in 1996, when, like, okay, he wasn't going to seek out the Ultimate Warrior, but like when the Warrior came knocking, it was like, all right, you know what, the fan base loves him. I can put my feelings aside for the fans.
Yeah,
I feel like that's what Triple H would do for
for
CM
CM
Punk.
Punk.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, did CM Punk burn the bridge too much with that press conference?
I think he would have like to me, maybe not publicly, but I think behind closed doors in a locker room, he would have to have like a Mia Copa moment
Yeah,
with the WWE locker room. The guys who know the elite, everybody who's like all those guys in every locker room, like they've all worked together. Like
exactly.
they all know the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and Hangman. Like,
Yep.
so like AJ's not going to want to do business with CM Punk when he's burned too many of his old friends like Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks.
Yeah. Or Kevin Owens.
Yeah,
Kevin Owens isn't going to want to do anything like
No, Seth Rollins won't.
no.
Even though Seth Rollins was the original guy saying, if you remember when CM Punk first showed up on the backstage show,
Yeah.
Seth Rollins was tweeting out "Fight me,"
Yep.
and and when Punk goes, "No, this isn't the show to shoot your angles. I'm not even caught up on the business. I'll catch you up real quick. Come fight me."
Yep. Yeah, I thought
And
that was
kudos for Seth Rollins for trying it. Shoot your shot, man.
hey, you gotta try it.
Like Wayne Gretzky always said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Exactly.
Yeah, I actually would not be. In fact, I think it might happen in the. Well, I don't know what his no compete clause is like.
I have no idea. I don't even know if he's officially been released yet.
Right, I'm not sure.
Like they haven't come out and said he's done with the company. Like Regal, they have said Regal's done with the company. He
Right.
can go back to WWE as a coach,
Hmm.
but not as an on-screen talent.
Yeah. To me, I still think, man, it would have been so nice if they had worked with especially knowing that they were going to release him so soon after. If
Yeah.
they had just like, hey, so what would it take? What do we have to do to help you guys out? To just have Rigo come out and just say War Games.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
Yeah, just like during when the
Spot.
Brawling Brutes and Drew McIntyre and then Kevin Owens are fighting, you see Rio come out and just say War Games.
The fans would have popped. It would have been
Right.
brilliant, but unfortunately, we couldn't have gotten that.
Yeah.
You know,
I just, that's one of those things where when WWE, like, I remember when the first rumblings of New Japan working with AEW, or when AEW and Impact were working together so closely. Yeah, there was a lot of talk where Triple H was saying, yeah, WWE is willing to do business with other companies.
yeah,
If we could work with some other companies and try to get some guys over. And I still think, like in their mind, it's probably more like having someone from New Japan come over and be a part of the Royal Rumble or something like
yep,
that. Or like when Mickey James was a part of the Royal Rumble.
right. And that was great last year.
Absolutely.
With the Impact Knockouts Championship, they acknowledged her for what
Yes.
she's done outside of WWE. And
And I
that's the
would
way it
love
should
to see them do that. If you remember, they did that. I believe it was '96. They had Eddie Gilbert come in, and they recognized that he'd won some tournament in the USWA to get the spot in the Royal Rumble.
Doug Gilbert. Yep.
Doug Gilbert, yeah,
Yeah, Doug Gilbert won because at that point that's when they had that's where the original Mr. McMahon character came into play. Was in
okay,
USWA. He was the heel who would come in and talk Memphis down. And then they let one of the USWA guys come in. And they also did that 97 when they brought in some of the luchadors.
right. Mil Mascaris, who was it?
Cibernetico, I think, was in it.
Yeah, Cybernetico.
A couple others.
Was it
Pero,
Garza? Hector
Pero,
Garza?
Hector Garza, I think. And I
Yeah.
think Pero Aguirre might have been one.
Yeah.
But why? Okay, I get why they would want Neil Mascaris, but he wasn't going to do any jobs.
Right. That just wasn't who Mil Mascaris was. Like,
Right, you don't put him in the Rumble of all things. I mean, he jumped over the top rope himself.
right. And I was like, right away, I called it. I said it's because he wasn't going to do business with anybody.
Yeah,
He just said nobody's going to eliminate me. I know I'm not supposed to win, so I'll just eliminate myself.
yeah. Like that is just to me one of the weirdest entrants.
Yeah.
Because we could do a whole episode just on weird Royal Rumble entrants.
and weird Royal Rumble rules that sometimes apply, sometimes don't.
Yeah, and there's a few of them.
We should maybe do that before the Royal Rumble happens.
Yeah, I mean we have some time, so
Yeah,
yeah,
this is the dead period, but thankfully, right after the dead period, we get WrestleMania season.
that we do. And I'm really trying to think: are they going to do the second show in between Mania and the Rumble? I mean Rumble and Mania.
Right. Well, because we know we got the Elimination Chamber.
Yep.
I know you said you heard about the Puerto Rico event, the Worlds Collide.
Yeah.
Um,
To hype up Dominic Mysterio against Bad Bunny.
ugh. What?
That's what the room. What what I have heard. Thank God you're sitting right now because
Yeah.
this is perplexed. They're thinking about doing a show in Puerto Rico and having Damian Priest and Dominic Mysterio against Bad Bunny and Rey Mysterio, which would then lead to WrestleMania, Dominic versus Bad Bunny.
WrestleMania has to be Dominic versus Ray. It has
That's
to be.
that's what I keep saying. You keep saying, but I don't think Ray wants it.
But
They
this isn't about what Ray wants. This is about
No,
what
the
would help
fans,
Dominic.
right? Yeah,
You
that's
got
what
to
they
do the
need.
favors for your son. Like,
Yeah, yeah, because he was saying that he wants Dominic in his retirement match. Like that's, but you need to put your son over.
yeah, you have to put your son over. Like, that's what has to happen.
Yeah,
Like, if you're ready to retire, great. Like, you're certainly old enough to.
you're a legend. You're a Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
You're gonna go into the Hall of Fame. Just go out and put your son over.
yeah. Like, to me, like, you think Dusty Rhodes wouldn't have absolutely killed to have gotten the chance to put over Dustin or Cody?
Oh, he would have in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I
Yeah, Ray's got to do the right thing here for the business. He's got to and it's for his son.
for his son too. Yeah,
He's got to put his son over.
yeah, because honestly, I'm kind of tired of the Judgment Day. How they just have Dominic as like the group's punk.
Yeah, like he got them all mixed up in that fight on with Tazawa. That was
Yeah,
so stupid.
yeah. It's like they've switched Dominic over, so they got to make him. They got to make him better than the position they have him right now.
Yeah, and he's just got to appear better too. Like he's just
Yeah,
got to seem like a legit threat. Like you just can't have him show up and beat Ray and have no other wins under his belt and
yeah,
no other accomplishments than he's Ray's son.
yeah. I mean, he's a tag team champion with his dad. He's turned on his dad. Now we need that implosion.
he made
The man.
history even.
Yes,
Yeah, well, and I think he needs an undercard championship.
he
He needs a
does.
run with the U.S. title,
Mm-hmm.
and look, and if that has to happen after his match with Ray at WrestleMania, I'm fine with that.
Yep.
But he is going to need that run with the U.S. title or Intercontinental title,
Yep.
and and then after that, you can start to talk about Dominic maybe the main eventer.
Yeah.
And look, there's no reason. Like I've seen what Dominic can do in the ring. Like yes, he's been booked weak at times,
Yep.
but the guy can go
He can,
really good.
and he's so young. Build on him.
He's right.
I would love to see a Dominic Austin Theory feud for the U.S. title at some point.
That would be good. Dominic against Austin.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
let the young guys shine through, and I think that's the one thing. Now I think Triple H being in control, he's going to do that more.
Hmm.
But I guess it's going to be a gradual process, and they really need to figure out who their future is.
Well, and I mean, you remember back in the day, ECW used to have a lot of matches they called Battle for the Future matches.
Yep.
And it would be two young guys who they just put in the ring. There'd be no story behind it. It was just these
Let's
two
see.
guys battle for the future.
Yep.
They could do something like that with Austin Theory and Cody or and
Tough.
Dominic Mysterio,
Yeah.
and just say there they are, the two guys battle for the future.
Yeah. No storyline, just this simple, straight up match.
Yeah, and I think it would the match would sell itself. Their athleticism, their ability to hit spots,
Yeah.
they would just show you what they could do.
Yep.
And that's what those matches were really about. They were about just showing, hey, look, this is what we're capable of.
Yeah. But see, again, we don't have that now because there's not enough companies, I think.
Yeah, yeah, we don't see that enough, and it's like every guy when they get WWE, they have to be a finished finished product now.
Yeah. Like NXT, they'll
Mm-hmm.
sit there for a while and determine what they're going to do with them.
Like I certainly believe that like the Creed brothers should be called up and just let's figure out what we're going to do with them on the main roster, and
Yep.
let's do something with them.
Yeah. Braun Breaker.
Yeah, same thing.
Yep.
Braun Breaker should drop the NXT title on Saturday night to Apollo Crews, and he just might. Um, I mean, I
Yep.
don't think he's going to.
I don't see Apollo being the one to beat him.
No, I don't either. Even though I think you'd be doing right by Apollo by letting him get back. Like, the whole reason you brought him down there was, I thought, to do like what you did with Finn Balor,
Right.
which was get him down there to sort of re-energize his career. If you
Right.
bring Apollo Crews down there, he wins the NXT title. You've succeeded in revitalizing his career so that when he drops the belt, he can come back up to the main roster and have a good impact.
Yeah. Because I think he was just stuck for a long time.
Apollo Crews. Oh yeah, he does show vessel.
Yeah, and he certainly like that whole character of him pretending to be Nigeria. That was so stupid.
Yeah. That was such a 80s, 90s type
Yeah.
angle where Colonel De Beers in the AWA pretending to be South African to get heat. That's what that was.
Right. And then the whole like it kind of reeked to me of in a heel version of the Kofi Kingston. Didn't you used to be Jamaican?
Yep. Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah. Well, all right. So let's get into our homework assignments. I got to be honest. I did watch yours, Mike. The War Games match. Great matchup. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yes.
What an odd combination with the Midnight Express joining the Legion of Doom and Doctor Death.
Dr. Death. Yeah, that was an odd combo. But that's
Mm-hmm.
I actually was watching the timeline of WCW 1989
Mm-hmm.
and 90 the past couple of weeks with Jim Cornette. And he was talking about how the Midnight became faces, but then they didn't know what to do with them. Because they got rid of Randy Rose with the original Midnight Express angle. And then they just kind of had Paulie get the Samoans, and they just kind of threw that together.
I got a question.
Okay.
Will you ever assign a woman match?
A what?
A woman match, because you always assign man matches?
I can assign a woman match.
I'm just asking, will you ever?
Yeah, I will one day.
Huh. I have one planned in my head, but I don't want that order.
Oh boy.
Yeah, this should be interesting.
It always is.
Let's go through all.
Logan Paul matches, Bad Bunny matches.
Oh boy. Yeah, those celebrity matches, there's something. Although I will say, Bad Bunny and Logan Paul matches have been good.
They have been, yeah. That's why Bad Bunny and Dominic might be good, but we
Well, I
all
think the match would be good, but what the match needs to be is
is
Ray
right.
and Dominic.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
need that.
they need to have that moment. Like they need to have it. They need to have it at WrestleMania. And it should be this year. It should
Yeah.
be, like. And I've been saying all along that I feel like that we should have Roman and The Rock, but I don't want it to be for the title.
No.
So we'd have to have Roman lose the title, but he's had the belt for so long that now if you have him drop it at an event that's not WrestleMania, it feels very forced and non-authentic.
And here's my thing.
Hmm.
What are they going to do at the Elimination
Can
Chamber
I
this year?
start a match?
Yes.
Okay.
After we talk about what are the plans for the Elimination Chamber going to be?
See, to me, I think that's where if we're gonna have a new champion crowned before WrestleMania, so we
That
can still have The Rock and Roman Reigns, I think that's the event where you have a new champion.
Yeah.
But it's a shame because essentially I feel like that champion would just be winning the title so that they could have somebody else drop it to Cody at WrestleMania.
Yeah. Because I think if Cody comes back, they have to have Cody
Yes.
win that match.
Cody's got to win the Royal Rumble,
And
main
then,
event WrestleMania, win the championship.
yep.
Okay, so I have the thing in plan. It isn't necessarily a match.
Okay.
That's when Piper came back to
I
WCW.
know. Does that count? Anyone?
It's not a match, but
I mean, you could assign the match that led up to it. You could assign like Macho and Hogan, and then just say, but you have to stick around for the end for the
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Was there ever a Roddy Piper against Hulk Hogan?
Yeah.
Plenty of them. Plenty of them.
How many?
A lot.
At least 3 times in WCW.
Look
Right.
up the second one.
Okay.
So that would be Super Brawl.
Super Brawl 97.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. No, that's fine. That's a good match.
That's a good one. Let's see here. So we're going Piper, Hogan, Super Brawl 97.
That'll be a fun one to watch. I might just watch the whole Super Brawl 7.
Yeah. Yeah, 97 Super Brawl is pretty good.
It's a good show. Yeah.
I got to think of something. Let's see here.
Yeah.
All right, I'm thinking of a homework assignment for us.
Okay. Well, while you think of yours, I was going to go with the Eddie Guerrero 6th match, the ladder match at Sold Out, but I feel like that's too close with the, as far as on the timeline of Piper Hogan.
Piper
Hold
Hogan.
on, hold on.
So I'll go with a different match.
I want to check my match too.
Okay, well, if you're going to change your match, then I'll go with Eddie and
Eddie versus 6, sold out. Okay.
yeah.
You gave me the idea. It's the match when Vicky Guerrero got thrown in all that mud.
I forget which match that was.
I don't even remember that one. I mean, I remember it happening. I don't remember.
Yeah. It was like there's a pig pen or something.
Was that with Santina or something?
Yeah, something along that time frame.
Can we just please stick with the Hogan Piper match?
Hogan
Okay.
Piper.
You know what? I'll go with the SummerSlam match between CM Punk and Jeff Hardy, the TLC match.
Okay. All right.
You know what? I'm changing my match.
Oh,
It's when Rey Mysterio changed on his dad.
okay. Clash of the Castle match. That's kind of new though,
Yeah, we just watched that.
and we talked about it in
Yeah.
depth when it happened.
Okay. How about
You had a good idea to start with. Stick with your good idea.
Yeah, stick with the Hogan Piper.
how about one fine. I'll stick with it.
Let's see here.
It's gonna say Drew McIntyre against Roman Reigns.
You know what? I'm going to go with a debacle match in history.
Okay.
Because I just watched the timeline of WCW thing from
Oh boy.
1990. I'm going to dreadfully put us through Sting against the Black Scorpion.
Ooh, so what was that?
Starcade 1990.
Oh,
Okay. Okay.
didn't Sting come back at Clash at the Castles? I mean, what was it? It was the event with all the Umi men coming on.
Tribute to the troops. No, Sting's in AEW now.
I know, but before he was in.
He might have been on one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, the debacle of the Black Scorpion angle, of how they had, I think at least 3 people played the Black Scorpion in interviews,
Oh boy.
and how Flair was not supposed to be, but they had to put him under the mask.
Yeah, because basically, like whoever it was, did they no show or something? Or
I think it was originally going to be Al Perez, but they couldn't come to terms with Al Perez. He thought, now granted, he was a good wrestler,
yeah,
good hand. He thought he should have beat Sting for the WCW World Title.
what?
Exactly. Al Perez.
Like, look, I understand believing in yourself and all, but like, why would you think that?
But why would you think that? He didn't do much in WWF, but that's a whole other political
Sure.
topic with the whole Patterson aspect and what he said Patterson has said to him. I don't know.
Well, yeah. I heard about all that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's kind of like he didn't do much WWF. He was a hand in world class, but to
Right.
me, Al Perez's biggest attribute was Gary Hart.
Yeah.
You needed Al to have Gary. Al is the Black Scorpion beating Sting. No sense at all.
No.
If Al was still with Gary Hart, Gary could get him there. Maybe then. But even that's a stretch.
Yeah, that's a big stretch.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
Yeah, so he was supposed to be it because they wanted someone from Sting's past. And Perez was in NWA, Crockett 89, 90, so it made sense, but then that just all happened.
All right, so yeah, those are our homework assignments. I assigned Eddie or what I go? Oh yeah, I went with
Eddie
Jeff
versus Six.
Yeah. Or do you want to stick with Eddie versus Six?
Yeah, let's stick with it.
Yeah, okay.
What's a classic?
Eddie versus Six in the ladder match that sold out. And we have Piper and Hogan at Super Brawl.
Right.
And then Sting versus Black Scorpion at Starrcade 1990. All right.
That's a show.
So we know our assignments, guys.
That we do.
A little history of WCW.
Yeah, it's a WCW themed.
And it's appropriate. We're in December. This is supposed to be Starrcade.
Starrcade season.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was actually thinking about, I know I told you about how I do my Road to WrestleMania every year. I was thinking about just doing a Road to Starrcade and just doing all the Starrcades in order.
I did that one year. It's
tough.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
Because especially this time frame, 90, they're horrible.
Yeah, that like 89, 90, 91 I actually kind of enjoyed.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I loved the whole Battle Bowl concept. I wish WWE would use it now.
Yeah.
And I loved the randomness that they did in 91 and in 92.
Yeah, with Battle Bowl.
Yeah.
Again, a New Japan Super Show that didn't do much in 95.
Yeah.
That was kind of just to put WCW over.
Yeah, and that was such a shame too. That whole like when they did Battle Bowl, I know it's Slamboree. That was pretty good. Well, it was all right, I guess.
Now, Battle Bowl was an interesting, good concept. You didn't
It's
know
just
what you
poor
were
they
going to get.
executed. Yeah.
Yeah, but some of the and then '90 had that Pat O'Connor Memorial Tag Team Tournament
Okay.
in which they brought in random teams from foreign countries.
Oh, fun.
Like the UK team was Chris Adams, who had a lot of success in world class.
Oh yeah, it was awesome.
One of my all-time favorite heels.
Hmm.
And they had him teaming with Norman Smiley, who at the time no one knew about. And we wouldn't know until Screamin' Norman became a hit.
Oh, good old Screaming Norman. I'll have to
Yes.
dig out one of his matches for one of these homework assignments one day.
Oh gosh, I used to love him with the big wiggle move.
Oh yeah, he was fantastic.
Yeah.
One of the matches that I think was like kind of good. I don't like Bianca Belair, but Bianca Belair versus Bailey when she hit her with the golf cart.
Yeah, that was just the crown jewel.
I know, but it was fun to watch someone get hit by a golf cart.
Yes.
Well, I'm sure you would have enjoyed the empty arena matches at what you may call it
Halftime heat.
no the AEW show where they did the stadium matches.
Stadium Stampede or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, the two of them they had because of COVID.
right.
Yeah.
Which actually, that was a good use of their space and good
It
use.
was.
Like it was pretty smart.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, that's our show for tonight. We will see you all back here again next Wednesday.
But
Thank you for everybody who joined us tonight, who join us later on throughout the week. Let us know your thoughts on our homework assignments, and and we, if the comments are good, we'll read them on air next week. If not, then I guess you'll know they weren't any good because we won't talk about them.
Yep.
But yeah, go ahead, Sean.
real quick, how many wrestlers have you seen?
How many what?
Wrestlers have you seen
Like, have I met or?
met in real life?
Uh, I mean, just a couple.
I
I
met
was,
like one. That's it.
I met The Rock and I met Paul White. Um, I met them both. I was working at a sports store at the King of Prussia Mall,
Oh,
and
nice.
they came for signings. They had, like the first one when I met the Big Show, I'd been there for all of a week when he showed up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was a good dude.
Yeah.
The Rock, I mean, The Rock he wasn't like necessarily a jerk to anybody. He just kind of seemed like he knew he was better than everybody.
Yeah.
I saw Stu Grayson.
Did you? I'm sure he'd be a good meet.
He was because we saw him at a flea market up in Quakertown in August. So
Nice. I met Stevie Ray when I was living in Houston, and I was going to a Walmart, and I saw him coming out. And I'm like, wait, I know him. I'm like, holy shit, Stevie Ray! And so I had to go up and say something to him, and yeah, he was a nice guy.
yeah. When I was working in a food store in the late '90s,
Mm-hmm.
ECW time, I was I think I was pushing shopping carts in, and all of a sudden I heard a voice and I turned my head. It was Wildfire Tommy Rich and Bill Alfonso.
Oh wow,
Yeah, I'm just like, whoa, what are you guys doing here?
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, my favorite story of getting to meet anybody in wrestling, and I wanted to save this for right at the end here, was when I got to meet Paul Heyman.
Oh, wow.
And I think I shared this with you when I said to him that, I should be an ECW. I would be a perfect fit. My name's Eric Christopher Ward. I'd be Mr. ECW. And he looks at me, he's just like, and he said it tongue in cheek. He's like, when he moves? He's like, we'll get you in the ring.
We'll get you in there.
He's
I
just
wanna
like, it's
be
perfect. He's like, can you take a bump?
Hey, if you could, that would be awesome.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Have a great night. We'll see you next week.
All righty.
bye everyone.